there's going to be a massive UK bias here, mainly because that's where my catchments are. So within the UK itself, there's a lot of debate and controversy over whether or not trees are the solution to flooding. This has started from some winter floods we've had in 2013-14 and more recently in 2015-2016. The newspapers have jumped on the fact that trees could be the solution, so their idea is that if they plant millions of them right across the UK, it will stop flooding altogether. But with more and more headlines coming out like this, there's actually limited evidence to suggest that trees can stop or reduce flooding. So if we've got some trees and we've got flooding, what do we actually know? Well, we know the effect the tree has on the hydrological cycle, and we know the effect trees have on the annual water yield. We also know that trees can exacerbate flooding when there's deforestation and when there's poor land management. We also know the benefits trees have anthropogenically and ecologically, they're vast. But if we have extensive upland deforestation like this, will it actually reduce flooding, or will it lead to problems with water resources and droughts, and also food security? So along came my research project, and I'm using an intrinsic modelling and fieldwork approach to try and work out whether or not, well, how much trees are needed to reduce the flooding, if at all, and what the effects this is going to have on water resources and food security. So I've got different catchments that I've been collecting data at for the last 3 years, and these have got 100% land cover of forestry and grassland, and then they're sat within a larger catchment that I've been doing some modelling in. Another catchment that I'm using is this one that's in the Scottish borders, and this is quite a unique catchment because they're using a rewilding approach, and one of the approaches is planting lots of trees, which you can see here in tiny plastic tubes, which aren't actually doing much just now. And they're also looking at different ways in which they can rewild the catchment, improve its ecological status, and the knock-on effects are actually to help some towns downstream from stopping flooding. So the area that I'm interested in Scotland are these woody debris dams. These have been put in 2013, and I've been looking at them since then. The photos that are on the board just now were taken in June 2015, and these images were taken in December 2015 during the UK winter storm, which was named Desmond. And you can see that we've got some visual evidence as to how they work, which didn't actually happen before. This is further backed up with this video which I'm about to show you, which is a time-lapse camera which takes an image every 15 minutes, and I've stitched them together, and they're just going to show you a storm event which happened in January. So the Woody Debris Dam is in the background. The reason I've picked this flood event is mainly because it peaked during the day, so it's a bit easier to see. So the rain came, and then the flood peaked, and the dam pushed the water out of the stream and onto the floodplain. So it's basically just trying to reduce the floodway movement downstream. So it's another way which trees can be used to reduce flooding by actually putting them in the channel and across the channel. So the results I've got to date with modelling are that 100% land cover can have an effect on annual yield, which we already knew. But if we focus on this flood event, which occurred in January 2005 and flooded the city of Carlisle, we can actually see that having 100% afforestation across the catchment had a tiny impact on this. One of the largest events that's happened in the catchment. So the minimum impact at the highest magnitude effect is what I've seen in all the flood modelling that I've been doing. And what I have found is that the flood events that are from the small to medium scale, and they've had a much higher effect when you've had larger proportions of forestry, and they've been planted in strategic areas, so not just shoved all across the catchment, but being used using DEMs, and obviously not planting on peatland, which is a big thing in the UK because the majority of it is peatland in the uplands. The results from the Woody Debris dams are going to be used to put into G-Trans, so I can look at them instead of at a reach scale, at the full catchment scale. And the main conclusions that I've found to date are that trees may be useful in complementing hard engineering or hard flood defences which are downstream. So they may be able to take off, like cut off the cap, the top of the peak, rather than actually being the solution themselves. But I think most of you in here will agree that trees look a lot nicer than massive concrete dams and things like that. So I'm a massive advocate for trees, so I'm often called the tree lady. So come catch me at my poster on Thursday if you want some more info. Cheers.